You? Okay, 5:30, we'll get started here. We've got a lot to address. Stand for the pledge of allegiance, please. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Tammy, would you do the roll call, please?
John Cochran,
Here.
Jason McConnell,
Here.
Jason Tarno,
Here.
Gary Tilson,
Here.
Kevin Lawrence.
Here. Okay, next on our agenda is the minutes of the March 20th, 2025 meeting. Everybody should have a copy. And look them over and we'll take a minute to look them over and we'll take a motion whether to approve them.
To approve whenever you're ready, Kevin.
Okay. I'll support the motion to approve. Any other discussion on the minutes? Everybody fine with them? All in favor of the minutes from March 20th, 2025, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Minutes are passed 5-0. Okay, any changes to our agenda? Anybody? No changes? Changes to our agenda. Okay, at this time, we can entertain public comments on agenda items only. I will ask if you have comments on the public hearing portion for SDG Ventures for their marijuana processor license, or on the, I'm gonna probably mispronounce your name, the Pamplona Company's proposal for the business up on the County Line Party Store. I'm sorry, I'll get it together here. If you would hold those comments until the public hearing portion, we could put those all together, because what I do is have each representative from the various businesses come up, give us a brief of what they want to do, and then you can comment, they can hear your comments, and then at the end, we'll have them respond to your comments and questions you may have. So with that being said, is there any public comments on anything else we got on the agenda? Nothing? Okay, we'll close public comments. Under old business, first thing I got is EDF renewables. The only updated information I have is I talked to the EDF rep today, and they have canceled their public presentation for May 13th. They're going to reschedule it for a date in June that they haven't determined yet. So for those of you that got the agenda and were aware of May 13th, scratch that off, it's been canceled. And as soon as I get a date for June, we will get the information out. Okay, at this time, let's open up the floor for the public hearing for SDG Ventures for their site plan review, special land use for marijuana processor. And can I have a rep from SDG come up first and just give us a brief idea of what you're doing so that the residents will know. And then, like I say, we'll have them ask questions, make comments, and then we'll bring you back up to respond, and then we'll quiz you after that too.
All right, so we currently have a marijuana grow facility already in operations, licensed and going, and we're just trying to open a processing, obtain a processing license and have our facility there as well. We've had our facility there for some time. We've been going through licensing for quite some time, and we're still just trying to get it open. It's been an ongoing process. We had to pull out of applying a couple of times, so I'm just trying to go through it again. That's basically the gist of it.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody got any questions from the floor for public comments? For the gentleman?
Is that, I don't need to go up there, do I?
Quiet enough, we can probably hear you.
Is that an outdoor grow?
No, the grow is indoor.
It goes indoor?
Yes.
Okay. And where is it?
It's 9408 North Saginaw.
Where's that at? I'm familiar with that.
I live in Shelby Township myself, so I'm not super familiar. It's
Yeah. On Saginaw Street over here,
it's just about 1.5 miles, 2 miles north of downtown Mount.
it's a business that sets back from the road, and we had them come in earlier and put up the wooden lattice between their building and the road to kind of, block the vision so that you don't look at a building, to kind of dress it up a little bit.
But it is an indoor grow.
Yeah, the grow's been ongoing and it's been inside.
Okay, you don't plan on doing nothing outside, right?
My processing is so I have my laboratory, which is actually made out of a shipping container, and that is outside. That's on the other side of that lattice that they're speaking of. And then my auxiliary trailer is in the back where I will be doing all my post processing.
Okay, thanks.
No problem.
Does your post-processing involve any chemical treatments?
So my solvent is butane, but that solvent is removed after when we use our vacuum ovens and things like that. I don't use any other chemicals other than.
Okay, the butane is removed to where? How is it processed?
So after I do my whole extraction process, my mother solution, or what comes out of that, is then put in vacuum ovens, and that removes it through vacuum and then is vented out.
Vented out.
Mhm.
Is there any fumes in what's vented out?
There shouldn't be many fumes. I've got filtration systems on there to where we shouldn't have any smells.
I'm just worried about any toxic fumes being released into the environment.
So all my HVAC and everything, we were close to getting licensed, so I went through all of those processes. Everything's been looked at by CRA, by BFS. Everything's been looked at. And
Okay, help me out here. CRA, I'm not.
so Cannabis Regulatory Agency and
Okay.
BFS is Bureau of Fire Safety.
Okay,
So
thank you.
we've had, yeah, and we will have to have them out there to check again. So I don't believe that there will be anything like that.
And they monitor it on a regular basis?
Yes, we have to have 6-month inspections. So
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
No.
Can you tell me your name again?
My name is Will. I'm the processor. I was kind of sent up here. All our guys were kind of tied up, so I don't usually do this, so I'm just trying to.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just fill in, we get it.
Yeah.
So the indoor grows here
Yes.
so it's gonna be adjacent.
Yeah, so that's inside. That building has been in operation.
So that's not even a question.
No.
All this processing, once we determine and let's just say hypothetically you go forward, you have state agencies that have to monitor that as far
Oh,
as
yeah.
facility setup,
Yes.
design, process.
Yeah.
All your incoming and outgoing.
Yeah, there's multiple agencies.
Do they do quarterly or annual?
Yeah, I think they just changed it to 6 months. It might be quarterly now, but that's a recent change. So we have 3 or 4 agencies we have to go through to make sure that everything lines up with all the requirements and everything like
Are you
that.
doing processing now, paying somebody to do processing? somewhere else?
No,
You're just selling raw product?
so right now the grow, we have our marijuana, but all the trim is just being sold through Metric to other companies right now.
You own the building?
I don't, so my company owns the building. It's not leased or anything. They own the building.
Your company, and you were the like CEO of the company or whatever?
I'm just the processor.
Oh, you're just.
Yes.
Everything. But I'm glad you're here as a processor, because if we have any processing questions, you would be able to address those, so.
Yes.
Any other questions from the floor for him? Comments? Okay, I'm gonna close the public hearing comment portion. And we'll get down to specific with his business. A little bit of background, history for his business. is, on April 13th of 21, we approved him for a Class B, grow, which was an indoor grow. And we added a pod building out front in, February of 2023. And it still is just a process as a grower. And then, according to my records, the planning commission here on July of 2022, we did approve a processor site plan and a Class C grow. We bumped it up from a B to a C grow. And the board of trustees approved it in August of 2022. But it's my understanding that you continued with the grow, but the processor part never got, kind of got put in limbo.
Yeah.
So we have a 1-year limitation on when we do an approval that you have to start doing something or get it extended. And it didn't get extended, and that's kind of part of why we're back here again today, is to formally reapprove it again. There is, if you were here earlier, his site plans and everything are on the table. They've been on the table in the lobby for a month or better. We did have them on the docket last month, but the rep was not here. So we tabled it till this month. So that's why we're back here again today. I'm digging for it. I did enjoy reading your odor plan that you had. I felt there was a lot of good stuff in there as far as the inspection records and stuff, and dating when the filters are changed, when they're checked. I really like that, and I like your permission to maybe expand that into our recommendations when we go forward with other indoor grows and stuff with the filtration systems. I thought that was most excellent. I really like that, and I did run that by our code enforcer too, because he's the one that has to go around and sometimes do the sniff test.
Yep.
And I applaud you for that. That was a great thing. And if anybody does want it, we can get them copies of his odor plan here on how he's gonna address it going forward. Any other questions from board people?
Well, my only questions are really for Tammy. Is everything from our end up to date with him?
Yes.
Everything's paid, we're good.
Discussion or any more discussion on SDGs? That
I can make a motion to approve their application.
I have a second. I'll support it. Any further discussion? Okay, can we have a,
Before we make a roll, can I say something?
yes,
So I love this presentation. This is a good presentation, a good business plan. And I remember when we approved that pod in the front. And then I drove by there and it was like, somebody said something and we put some trees and we were gonna do trees, but it was like rock. I remember though, it was like, I mean, ideally, I remember the reason there was ducting or something going to that building.
Yeah.
But ideally, I love that. It's a nice building, but that is just such a weird thing that in front of it, whatever that is, man, it'd be. I mean, I feel okay with everything here today, but I would love to see that move back around or to the side, because I think it just takes, kind of away from that nice building. Just my 2 cents on that. I know me and Kevin have kind of talked about it.
I can give you the reasoning. So
Yeah.
originally, do you want me to come back out there?
Yeah, it'd be good. It'd be good for
Yeah,
them.
let's talk about it.
So originally, we had planned it for it to be in the back. And when I got up to the property, I instantly saw that there was a footing in the front. Not only that, for me to access the bathrooms, which are in the front of the building, if it's in the back, I gotta walk all the way around. I know that's just kind of a convenience type thing, but I can't go through the back of the building. That goes into the grow and I can't go in there. So I've already got it on the footing with the generator hooked up, the gas lines ran and everything. If I had to move that.
I'd make you do that.
Okay.
I would just
appreciate it.
say in the future, we would want that, because I mean, it's just taking, if you ever decide to turn it into a dispensary, you know, that would obviously be kind of weird right there.
Yeah,
Just my 2 cents. I'm okay with it. Just,
okay.
I remember when it first happened, and it was like, why did we approve that? Oh, man, oh, drive by there, and then you guys put the fence up. That's great. I'm glad. Just. That's my 2 cents.
Well, when we first approved it, I think we were talking about putting trees
Yeah,
and shrubbery across.
but there was
the
too
front.
much.
Yeah,
They came to us and said just the ground would be impossible.
Yeah, it's a thick gravel concrete.
And what you
drive.
did is nice, but I just like, I always think, I try to think in the future. I
Yeah,
might want to sell that building one day, and I think that would be a hindrance for somebody if they wanted to make it expensive. I think, is it movable? I mean, I wouldn't make you do that, but I would just say it.
the lab is movable via crane. That is the only way, or
So in the future, if something ever
Pick it
happened.
up and move it on a truck, they get it out.
So you're trying to, yeah, in the future, you want to sell it someday, that's the future.
yeah, but if I had to move it, we'd be talking
I wouldn't
big
make
money
you
and
do
big
that.
time,
I
so.
wouldn't make you do that.
Okay, I
Just
appreciate
saying in the future, might make your property worth more money moving it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for some reason, they had to repurpose the building for something else and.
Oh, yeah, that pod, if that building gets sold, that pod would be out of there.
Oh, okay, one of those
Yeah,
deals.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all I gotta say about that.
Okay. Can we get maybe a formal motion,
Want me to
or
fix
your
my
motion
motion?
to, yeah, more formally than,
I'd like to make a motion to approve SDG Ventures LLC 9408 North Saginaw Road, West Michigan 4458, requesting a site plan review special land use application for marijuana processing facility license. How's that for you?
Tammy got all that, yes, that's the kind of form that we need. I'll support that. Okay, Tammy, when you're ready, let's do a roll call vote for this particular topic here.
John Cogden,
Yes.
Jason McConnell,
Yes.
Jason Tarno,
Yes.
Gary Tilson,
Yes.
Kevin Lawrence,
Yes. Yes. Okay, that's the recommendation we will make to our township officials at their board of trustees meeting, which I believe is going to be May,
or
possibly. Definitely. Okay. There'll be a meeting in May that the board of trustees will give the final. Okay, they'll get our recommendation and the minutes from tonight's meeting with the explanation. But I'll make sure Tammy notifies you. Okay, when the meeting's gonna be. Okay, next thing on our business agenda is the solar ordinance regarding battery storage systems. It's just simply a discussion for us. We had some information given to us at the last meeting. We need to determine a time to sit down and do something to address the battery storage system issue. I do have a tentative plan for a workshop on April 30th at 7 p.m. We have a master plan committee meeting that same evening at 5:30. And I'm going to be asking all the planning people and board of trustee people to attend the master plan meeting. So I would like to have us set up a workshop for our elected officials to brief them on where we're at on the solar ordinance to discuss battery storage systems. Because we have to have their permission to open up the ordinance to modify battery storage systems, and I would like to have their input of where they want to go.
You have a time for that, Kevin?
So I'm thinking 7 p.m. Would be following up the master plan meeting. Wade, Trim, and Caitlin will be here at 5:30 for master plan. They normally take about an hour, hour and a half. And like I say, we need to have the board of trustees people and planning people here for the master plan. We're getting to the final stages. So it's imperative that we have everybody's be aware of where we're at with our master plan. And if we have everybody here, let's add another hour or so to go through solar topics and get some direction. Resident Stephanie had prepared us a whole bunch of stuff on batteries, information. I did run it to Caitlin at Wade Trim to comment on the battery stuff. And we need to determine a direction. how we're gonna put it into our ordinance. This would give everybody's opinion at the same time.
Kevin, at that time, would you have a sample of what that might look like or no?
Yeah, I will get something, you should have some, sample ordinances was in the last month's packet. I don't think I got them carried over to this one. But, I will get copies of what we had at last month's meeting, Caitlin's letter and Stephanie's recommendation of, sample ordinance that she drew up, and that's our starting point to, go there. But we need to get on this, soon, and my intent was to have it ready for EDF's May meeting. Now they're canceled out till June, so it gives us a little extra time to get all our members educated on where we have to go and what's coming. So, but if you note that on your calendars, please. Okay, moving on under new business. We have a public hearing for Pamplona companies. What the plan is to, the county line store is currently zoned RE, but it was grandfathered in for many years, going back to, I don't know, the 70s, 80s. It existed for a long time. And it was prior to the township ever being zoned. So what they're requesting in order to put some gas pumps in is it has to be rezoned to local commercial. And that would require special land use also, but it would allow them to put the gas pumps in. And that's their plan. If you'd like to give me a brief for the audience of what we're going to do, and then we'll do the same as before. We'll take comments and questions from the audience.
Sounds great, Chairman. I have a couple of handouts, if you don't mind, to hand out to y'all. I have some extras too, if you want to share these with some of the audience members that might be interested. You take a note.
Yes, I am.
These are what I want to say, who I am. Just
Okay,
make your life a little easier.
thank you very much.
Well, if he does a minute, that will help.
Well, wow. Sir. Sorry.
That's all right.
They already know you.
Yeah,
There you go. You want to look at some pictures?
I like that. Oh, no.
I got a phone, so she doesn't need the pictures of the gas station. Good evening. Thank you for having us tonight. My name is Mike Knowles. I'm with the Umlor Group. We're the civil engineers and surveyors that put plans together for this project. With me here today, I have Vito Pamplona. Vito is the general contractor for the projects and for all of the Yatuma oil projects. And I also have Kevin Brandon here. He's the architect and landscape architect for the project. If you have any specific technical questions, brought the whole gang along. I put together a couple of slides here just to kind of highlight what it is. Sometimes it's not always clear when you're looking at an engineering set of plans. So what we're looking for tonight is we're seeking a conditional rezoning, which, as the chairman mentioned, would allow the applicant, us, to move forward with the design of a 3-pump fueling station with modern environmental controls at the existing convenience store, which will be an improvement for the community and a convenience for the residents to be able to get gas a little bit closer to home. As mentioned, the property is currently zoned rural estate, which is a residential zoning classification, which has run with the land since it was zoned in the 80s. The property currently has a commercial classification for property tax assessments only. And because that is their current usage at that property. So fueling stations and convenience stores are not permitted in the residential district, making the existing use non-conforming, which is one of the reasons that we're here tonight for the rezoning and also to allow our plans for a fueling station to move forward as well. So I understand that rezoning a parcel to eliminate non-conforming uses was a topic that you all discussed at the Thetford Township Master Plan update meetings. One of the goals of your updated plan is to get non-conforming properties updated so that the zoning and the use matches. This rezoning request will help the township update your zoning map to achieve this goal. So how this works, the owner of the convenience store, current convenience store there, will still own the store. They have entered into a contractual agreement with Yatuma Oil. And Yatuma Oil will provide the capital, the construction, and the long-term maintenance for the fuel canopy and the improvements. Yatuma Oil has several of these. I think we've probably worked on 20 of them for them. So they're a experienced operator. They both are the supplier of the fuel and they operate their own stations. And then in cases like these, they'll be operating the fuel component of it, and the existing owner will operate the convenience component of it. There's a couple of changes. It's a pretty strict contract. When Marathon comes in, they have very strict requirements that the proprietor has to adhere to, such as uniforms and cleanliness, and they have secret shoppers that come in to rank them and score them to make sure that they're keeping up to the corporate standards of Marathon Oil. So on the second page, you can see a couple of historical photographs that were provided by the township. We understand that these are probably around the 1970s, judging by the vehicles out front. We understand that in discussions with area residents, it was mentioned that at one point many years ago, there may have been gas pumps at that location, possibly in the 70s. So as part of our due diligence and engineering, we'll perform research on any potential records regarding when and how they were removed. We'll also perform testing to ensure that everything was cleaned up properly. The current photo is the one at the bottom, and that shows the building as it is today. It was constructed in 1986, so it's due for some modernization. The existing building and surrounding grounds are due for some repair. Approving this rezoning would permit the developer to clean up the property. Some of the upgrades will include upgrading the pavement to heavy-duty pavement, concrete around the pumps, add new parking and striping, replace lighting with modern shielded LED lights, modernize the building to get the conduits from the pumps to the inside to the cashier area. They take off sort of the front of the building to do that, and they replace it with glass. Add the new pumps and canopy, add new landscaping, add a new dumpster enclosure, so you don't just have an open dumpster there. And then these modern improvements will clean up the look of the building. The proposed use as a fueling station provides the economic opportunity to be able to make that investment into the building to better serve the community's needs with additional products and more convenient services locally. On the next slide, page 3, what I have here is I have a colored up plan, and it just makes it a little bit easier. It's the same plan that you have the full-size engineering set, and everything is to scale. But if you're trying to get an idea about where it's going to be located and how its relationship is into everything else around it, this is the way to look at it. So you can see I have the existing store highlighted in yellow. The improvements are going to be the south side of the store. Now, I'm sure you're aware that Dead Creek runs on the west side of that property and also on the south side of that property. So we've surveyed that property, both the property lines and the creek and the existing topography and everything that's out there to locate it. And so this is an accurate plan. And what you can see there is that the creek has a 40-foot wide easement, and I highlighted that in blue. And you can see that 40-foot wide blue strip running up and down. You can also see the blue dotted line. That's the actual flow line of the creek. So you see there's a little bit of a mismatch between the actual flow line of the creek and the easement. That's not so unusual. The creeks tend to move around over time as water flows down through them. There's also a 200-foot consumer's power easement. You can see that's highlighted in yellow. The existing store and all the future improvements will be within that easement. That's not completely unusual either. You know, these usually power easements are non-exclusive easements. So that they have the ability to bring in overhead lines down through there, but they can't also prevent you from developing the property. What you see from where we're proposing to put the tanks, the way I did this was the spots in red, those are the proposed pumps. So there's 3 pumps that are proposed. And then you can see I have the boxes in maize and blue. And those are where the cars would be parking to fuel. You can fuel on both sides of the pump over there. So you can see theoretically 6 vehicles could be filling up all at the same time over there. I heard a few folks talking about the project before the meeting started. Yes, we will offer diesel. No, there will not be 18-wheelers coming in through here. This is not that kind of gas station. So one of the other things you can see here is you see kind of a serpentine route. It almost looks like a truck is coming into the parking lot there to the fuel, and you can see it loops around and comes back out. That's a turning radius, turning template to show that a vehicle can make a turnaround in there. So you can see the vehicle in the lower right, the fire truck detail. So that's part of the engineering process over there to make sure that there'll be appropriate access available for both tankers that come in to fill up the, it's a small tanker, it's not like a big 18-wheeler. The tanker that comes in to fill up the fuel tank, and also if there were an emergency that a fire truck can get in, get around, get turned around in there. You can see the location of the dumpster enclosure. I overheard somebody talking about lighting. You can see an example of one of them that we built over at Sterling Heights, I believe is that one on the right that you see there, 19 Mile and Mound. So that's what the canopy would look like. The store would be a little bit different because that one was a ground up full build. But the canopy would be pretty much exactly the same. So the lighting on that's LED lighting. It's shielded so that the lighting is directed down. Usually in the process, we provide a photometric plan that'll show what the light levels are at the property line. And in this particular case, I think we're in even better shape. If that Dead Creek easement, that blue strip that you see going down through the middle over there is 40 feet wide, we're about 80, 90 feet off the property line to the edge of our pavement there. And that's that wooded area that's around the creek. So we're going to have 80 feet of woods separating ourselves from the closest neighbor to the west. You can also see there's a significant distance, looks to be about 200 feet from where the tank is to the south Dead Creek leg over there, also wooded over there. So we've got some good screening there. This particular applicant isn't shy about putting fences. I heard you talking about it with the last applicant, about putting privacy fences or additional landscaping. We always plan on improving the property. You can see we do a pretty nice job with the finishes. That's the idea here as well. So if you ended up, as we go through the site plan process, this is the first step in the process, doing the rezoning. We have a long way to go. We could add, fencing. We could add additional landscaping to try to keep everybody happy. So that's kind of the walkthrough on the plan. One thing I wanted to mention while I was on this page is that the final engineering will be subject to outside agency approvals. So we have some permitting and some regulations to meet, which I'm going to talk a little bit more about on the next slide. We need to get approvals from Genesee County for stormwater and soil erosion controls. We also need approvals from the state of Michigan, both for the fuel tank and for any impact to the wetlands. Dead Creek would be considered a wetland and navigable waterway. And so we'd have setbacks from that. And you can see, well, I'll have to talk about that on the next page, but you can see in pink, the water quality unit where it's going to discharge to the creek over there. Usually it's short of the creek, so that you're not actually impacting the wetland itself. So moving on to the next page, a couple of features. Commissioner Lawrence requested some additional information from one of our engineers, Jason Fleece, with regard to protecting the public against any environmental concerns. So that you could provide assurances to your residents that any spills and leaks can be contained with no contamination. So as I mentioned, we've got the outside agency reviews. They're going to review our detailed construction plans to address those concerns. But the question generally comes up when we're doing these presentations about what's that look like, how's that work. So what you see on the left is the storm trooper. That's a separator, a water quality unit. So all the storm water is collected and it goes through this particular unit before it's discharged out, so that any suspended solids or any particulates in this thing are filtered out before the water is discharged. So there's a whole lot of gas stations in the United States in and around waterways. And that's typically how they do it. It's a modern application. So some of the older stations that you see in those kind of things don't have those, but this one would, should we get approved. You also see the tank itself. So this is a tank that Vito's guys installed. You can see it's a double wall tank. So if there were any leaks on the inner tank, it's still contained around another tank. There's also some emergency foaming in those tanks to prevent and seal it for redundancy. And then in some particular cases, we've done about half of them get this and half of them don't, depending on the agency recommendations. They get a concrete vault around the tank as well. Similar to like a squirrel chamber or some of these other electrical vaults that you see underground, these concrete vaults to go around the tank itself to add a third level of protection for any potential leaks. Okay, so that's the water quality structure. So we'll collect the stormwater runoff in the areas of fueling and around the tank, treat it through the mechanical filter prior to outletting to the county drain. Required permits, GCDE and EGLE, that's Genesee County Drain Commission and the state of Michigan for stormwater discharge would be required. We did discuss the plan with Don McClure from Genesee County Drain Commission and sent our concept plan over to Heather Kronenberg for their review. They didn't have any particular concerns. Obviously, they want to see the full engineering sets before they can make any formal comments on those things. But this is not a particularly unusual situation here. Vito has done many of these gas stations, so he can answer any questions about the underground tanks that are proposed. And again, those have state requirements, not only for the installation of the tank, but there's ongoing inspections and testing that are required on an ongoing basis under the operation. That would be handled by our group, so that would not be handled by the store owner. So we're taking responsibility for financing the construction, building it, and then managing it and maintaining it over the life of the station. So if you are agreeable to this being an appropriate use at this particular location, we're more than willing to entertain approval contingent upon obtaining those permits from the county and from the state. The reason we don't have the permits in place at this time is because this is a rezoning hearing. So this is the first step in the process. So we have to come here to get your permission. If this is something that you want in your community, then we'll proceed with preparing all those engineering drawings and going through all those applications. If it's not something that you want in your community, then we cut bait at the beginning of the process, which is why it's sort of a step-by-step process with several steps along the way. And on the last slide, another picture of the station, one of the stations that we built. So we have a very experienced team of professionals. We've worked on dozens of these together at various locations. Yatuma Oil is a respected supplier and fueling station operator. Red Bar Market, which you see in this picture, is their in-house brand for when they own the station and do the full thing. And that's what you see with the beer cave, and they've got some branding going on. But what you can see is a very clean presentation and clean finishes. And that's what they do, whether it's a canopy job or whether it's a full build, nice clean presentation. So I would like to, thank, Chairman Lawrence for assisting us with this process application and Tammy Battery for getting the publishing done and getting this, making this meeting happy. So we, respectfully request your support for our application, and we're happy to answer any questions that you might have about this.
Thank you. Let's take some comments from
Well,
the
we'll go ahead and do the
board
order.
first and,
Yep.
and then, you can, let you respond to their questions.
Certainly.
So, anybody from the public for comments for his presentation that you just put on? Yes, please.
Yeah, I guess I'm the guy who's coming up here to complain about it, so. I live 2 houses from the Dead Creek. On the opposite side of the road of the county line store. My name is Charles Cosner. And first of all, I don't really see where we need another gas station right there. We have Beacon and Bridge right here. We have the one on Birch Run, Simons. We have the 2 in Pine Run. And where I live, I've never had any problem accessing gas. But what I do have a problem with is accessing quiet time. You know what I mean? And with this coming in, all I can see is a lot of noise, a lot of trouble, a lot of traffic. We already have problems with, well, I'll just give you an example. My insurance company, homeowners, just raised mine $500 because there are no fire hydrants on Bray Road within 300 feet of my house. So my bills have gone up just because of that. So I don't know what you guys think about there not being any access to water in case there was a fire, you know? So the other thing is wondering about, because the fact that it's being zoned commercial, does that mean it's zoned commercial where I live?
No.
Who said yes?
No, I mean, just this particular parcel is all we're talking about.
Okay, all right.
Store.
Well, you know, I gotta tell you, it looks and sounds like a great thing, except unless you live next to it. You know what I mean? So I want to know about, are the taxes gonna increase for the residents?
I don't foresee taxes for the residents. You mean your personal property,
Yeah,
your
yeah.
property taxes itself. It shouldn't affect you because you would still be a residential assessed.
Okay,
This particular parcel, for assessment purposes, has been assessed commercial for years.
Mhm.
Each parcel, every parcel has 2 classifications. One is the zoning, which allows what the land use itself is. The second classification is what the land is used for. So in their case, it's been zoned residential way back before we ever had zoning.
Mhm.
It existed, but for tax purposes, they've been taxed as commercial. So you being just a residential owner, you would still be just classified residential zoning, and you would be classified as residential for property taxes. So
And I want the board to understand that we don't have a very good power grid out that way. You know, I mean, I've had to buy a whole house generator because I've already lost power 4 or 5 times, and we're only in April, the first part of April. You know what I mean? So I don't know what it is with the trees or whatever it is, whoever has to come out and clear all that stuff up. But we lose our power quite often, you know? So that's another thought. So the fire hydrants, the noise, the lights, the traffic, I'm not happy. So I just wanted to let you folks know that I'm not happy. And sorry to be a downer, but that's just the way it is. And
that's the purpose of the public hearing, is we want everybody's opinion. I did walk the grounds out there to a few of the neighboring residences personally myself to talk to people to see, you know, and traffic was one of their concerns. You know, Bray Road is a super busy road already. And, you know, that was a question that was proposed to me is this going to increase the traffic? Probably, I don't know, you know, I can't tell you that there's gonna be 100 cars more a day driving up there just to get gas, you know.
Well, you know, and is this gonna be a 24-hour place? You know, is it open all night?
No.
We'll have to ask them
What time is
that.
it closed?
So when we do these canopy projects with an existing store, we keep the same hours that the store already has. So when we do a full build up, you know, like a highway exit or something like that, we'll do a 24-hour. But on these canopy projects, we just match the same store hours. It gets shut down just like the store does then.
So is this what we're looking at? Is that what it's gonna look like?
This canopy is what it will look like. The store itself is a store that we built. It's a full build
Oh,
out.
you're
So
gonna
it'll
tear
be-
the old store down.
No. So we're gonna keep that old store just like it is, just right here, right where it's located.
Okay,
And then we're just gonna add the canopy over in this area over here. It'll be the same store. We'll make some improvements to the facade on the store, adding some glass and some windows and a dumpster enclosure and that type of thing. And then they'll update all the interiors as well.
well, just to say this again one more time, I've lived out there more than 30 years, raised kids out there. You know, I don't like noise, you know? And if it gets too bad, I have to move, you know? And I know nobody gives a rip about that for me either, you know? Bottom line is, I don't want it there. I think we have, you guys know, you live here. You know where all the gas stations are, Pine Run. You got them in Birch Run, you got them on Birch Run Road there at Simons, IGA. You got Beacon and Bridge right here. I don't see where we need another gas pump. That's all I got to say about it. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Anybody else? Sir.
Couple quick ones. I read in one of your articles, you was gonna research on what a gas station does regarding your home balance. I think I was on the internet, you said you were gonna research.
Yeah, I haven't been able to touch base with our assessor, but Mr. McConnell is a real estate agent. He might be able to shed a little bit of light if he's known of anything that affects the property value in this case.
I know that accessibility to a grocery store and conveniences does help your value sometimes, because, you know, if you're way out and you're out of gas, so. I don't know, I've never heard of it adversely affecting. I've sold houses next to gas stations and I've never had, I don't know. To my knowledge, I've never heard of anything like that hurting. I've heard the same concerns that gentleman over here said, lights, traffic, you know, noise.
I would agree with him 100%. None of you guys live by it, so you guys don't give two hoots. But everybody out in that particular neighborhood have all been out there. I've been out there 58 years. We just kind of like losing, we're out here for a reason. Instead of Grand Blanc, we're out here for, it used to be country, and we just keep losing it every year, more and more and more. Is the store gonna require like some kind of an escrow fund where somebody said something about the tanks might be there? Well, it prevents companies in the future from going under and leaving, and now the tanks are in the ground and we're responsible for getting the tanks out. I know it used to be a big problem, so.
Probably, is there a surety bond for that?
That's a contract that goes through Marathon. So
I was gonna say it's something.
yeah, so basically the store has to stay viable, right? So if the store does not stay viable while the tanks are in the ground and while they're providing the gas itself to the consumer, then Marathon comes in and pulls that tank out as part of the contract between us and the store owner. Yeah, it's not like we can just leave those there. We would have to scrape, you know, the canopy, the tanks, all of it, and take it back to its original, you know.
That's a state thing probably, right?
Yeah, and there's so many regulations on that. Like, we don't even really have a choice. That's something that we sign and get into a contract with, and we don't have a choice for it. The state comes in, they mandate that stuff. So in consideration to the drain there, Eagle's gonna require that as well. So all of this stuff is basically mandated upon us.
And it's good because it protects you and it actually protects us too. Because knowing exactly what we need to do is better than just going and doing it and it doesn't work.
And that was gonna be one of my questions. Who maintains the liability? Insure, who's responsible? And you're telling me it's Marathon or the carrier.
Correct. Yeah, it's Yatuma Oil and Marathon itself. So
For the life of that project, they would be responsible for in both of your concerns. If it blows up and burns all them houses there, this is who we're gonna go at. That was in my question list to find out.
Yeah, that's correct.
Whose is that liability?
that's correct. And also when the canopy is built, considering the fire hydrant issue that he was speaking of, there's a foam system that goes in place that goes under the canopy that basically extinguishes any type of fire that would be in that location.
So are they reliable then if, say there was a tank rupture and it got into our creek?
Yeah, so
Is that Marathon gonna be carrying that coverage on that?
yeah, so the reason for this Elutron tank is it's kind of a fail-safe system. So what it does is it's double jacketed stainless steel, polyethylene exterior. If the inside of that double jacket ever senses any type of fume, it shuts down everything from the tank actually pumping gas out of it to the store, all of it. And it won't even let you turn anything back on until the state comes out, and then they'll pressure test it. And if it doesn't meet that pressure test, they'll pull it out of the ground right then. Because there is no benefit for us to go in and invest that kind of money in order and not have that protection there. So those tanks themselves, you can do some research on. None of them have failed in 30 years that they've been out. So these are all tested. These go through Eagle, through the state, and the state is the one who mandates which actual tank goes into the ground according to the location to the drain. So it's not even something that we say, hey, we want to put in the ground. The state actually says, no, this is the tank that you're going to use. This is the one we're going to spec. And then we take that, we put it in the ground. The state comes out, they inspect everything, and then they do checkups on it. So we have a third-party company that comes in, they check those tanks religiously, like once a quarter, and then that gets submitted to the state. And the state has to get those reports. If they don't get that quarterly report, it gets shut down. And the water quality units, those are all inspected by the engineering companies. That stuff gets submitted to Genesee County. So we just did a very, very similar location in Burton that is very, very similar to this. And we went through the entire process at Genesee County and they approved it. A lot of people think that we're going to come in and put a stinky gas station that's leaking oil and gas everywhere. That's just not the case. With the new technology that's out now, these gas stations are way cleaner and the technology keeps them from doing that, right? So if you go anywhere around here, majority of the areas that don't have storm sewer systems, those locations actually dump their storm sewer into the drains that you're seeing everywhere in the county. Right. So if the water quality units weren't working, you would have contamination everywhere, not just at this location. It would actually be a huge problem. That's just proof to you that the units do work. So and they're spec'd by the state. So just to kind of alleviate some concerns about like environmental.
Okay. If they go forward with this, somebody said something about they keep the same hours.
Mm-hmm.
What stops them from changing those hours later on and decides to go 24 hours? Because nobody pulls 60% of the people probably pull out of that store. They feel like they got to hit 0 to 60 in a quarter mile, and half of them don't have mufflers. And now all of a sudden we're going to have a lot more traffic. What's going to stop them from coming in 1 and 2 in the morning and getting on it? Because they find out once the store is built that they can make more money by staying open 24 hours.
Well, on a condition of site plan approval, you can put a condition on there that states that the store must operate under the current hours that it is at right now. We don't have any plans of taking it 24 hours.
Well, nobody does until money talks. You know,
The condition of the site plan approval would basically dictate the hours.
All right,
We
thank you.
can dictate the hours and they would have to come back to us to increase them as part of the conditional rezoning.
Can I have one more minute, please? I saw.
Sir, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I want you guys to understand the board, the planning board, whoever you guys are. We're all on septics out there. We're all on wells. We don't have city water out there. When all this stuff starts, being moved around and everything, I don't know where the aquifers are at or anything like that. I don't know if this could, when you start digging out there and you start changing the scenery, I mean, if somebody can enlighten me on this, I don't have a clue about what I'm talking about.
Yeah, they got an
Something I
engineer.
thought about.
Yes,
You can actually mess up somebody's well by digging in certain places that you shouldn't be.
So in order to install those tanks, we have to get a UST permit, underground storage tank permit from the state. So that permit basically gives you parameters from the distance from the underground tank to the location of the wells, all the residential wells around us. If we don't meet a certain condition and footage, and that's dependent on what the state tells us, then we can't get that underground storage tank permit, then we cannot even build the project.
Okay.
So what happens is that prior to that, we do a hydrological study of the water flow that's underneath that station itself. So that dictates where the water's flowing, if it's north, south, east, west, the height of the water table itself. So we could do that study and literally find out that, there's a super high water table there and the whole project just gets shelved.
I can tell you right now, my sump pump never stops.
Well, that's the thing. And that's actually good information to know, because if we do these studies, right, we're going to find that out and we just won't move forward with the project.
And somebody else mentioned earlier, they wanted to know if there had ever been pumps there before. My neighbor's been there for 50-some years. She's never said anything about there ever being pumps at that county line store. So I don't know that there is, never has been. There could be, I don't know.
Yeah, along the way,
I've only been there
said
30
something
plus
about it.
years,
Yeah.
so. But, like I say, I'm not happy with change and I'm just an old guy, so where I'm at, but I want you guys to understand, when you approve all these things, you need to consider the people that live out there. You need to consider all the things that we bring before you, because like I say, if we didn't have a gas station within 20 miles, yeah, that's great. But we have 4 or 5 within 4 or 5 miles of that store, or even closer, So that's all I'm saying, is that I don't think it's needful. That's me.
Well, we actually just make a recommendation to our elected officials. Then the elected officials have the final say if the project goes. Our purpose is to look at the ground, what it's used for, what the buildings are for. And if we study within the ordinance of the zoning ordinance itself, if it's possible, what it would take to do it. We consider public opinion, but the ultimate responsibility ends up falling to our elected officials. So we're the intermediate group.
I hear you.
So, thank you. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Susan?
I know, not to show my age, but in the 1990s, we had a big problem with, the gas and other contaminants from gas stations around the area leaking into the water and into the soil. And there was, once it was discovered, a big effort made by the state to clean that whole mess up and shut down a lot of the stations, digging out the tanks, redoing them. You probably know more detail than I do. So my question is this, are they going, even though this is all going to be new and state of the art, much safer than stuff like in the 60s and 70s, are they going to monitor that water behind there and check the dirt around the tank on a regular basis, the state?
Yeah, so we check the dirt around the construction area ahead of construction, right? To make sure that there's no residual contamination from something that happened previously. And then as far as ongoing testing, they'll test the tanks, like Vito was saying, for pressure, and they test. So the county is responsible we have to send the tests for the water quality unit to make sure that unit is active and it's working. So we have to send them the tests for that. And then the state gets the tank, but they don't resample the dirt. If the tank's working And the water quality unit is working, they don't do additional dirt.
Twice a year, how often?
Quarterly.
Quarterly.
Quarterly on the tanks, yeah.
Answered my question. Thank you.
You will, yes, ma'am.
Thank you. If there are no more public comments, we'll close the public comment portion and get into the discussion portion. Okay, first off, what we have to consider is a rezoning before this even moves one step further to rezone the property from the residential estate to local commercial. I did put in your packets what local commercial comprises, and there is a special land use category for a gasoline station. And then our zoning ordinance does have some restrictions, square footage and stuff to look at. But my first concern is to, when we were initiating the new master plan, we looked at bringing into up to current some of our zoning parcels that were grandfathered in. And that's why I know I mentioned to them that this actually, by rezoning this, does accomplish part of what we were looking at for our master plan. The part of what's frightening with the current zoning status is being as grandfathered. There's a clause in our zoning ordinance that if there's sufficient damage to the building by fire, tornado, car drives into it, whatever happens, beyond a certain point, that building cannot be rebuilt and that business is just gone. So this actually is a benefit to the current business owner to even get it rezoned, and it helps clean up our master plan at the same time. We did have the old master plan does have a section in it that encourages us to rezone and bring up to date some of these parcels that they addressed. And I'm looking for my sheet on that at the moment. I got part of it off here, but in any event, it's encouraging our old master plan to do it, and it's part of what we were thinking about in our new one. The looking for my section on current land use, where we're at, and permitted to, under the local commercial district, we can have a gasoline service station for the sale of gasoline, oil, minor accessories only, and where no repair work is done other than incidental service, and a lot of other restrictions. So we don't have to go to the full commercial portion to accommodate this rezoning. Local commercial would allow a gasoline station to be put in. If we go to full commercial, that opens up the property down the road for many other things that would be allowed use should they decide to vacate and tear it down. So it's local commercial is somewhat more restrictive and leaves us more control down the road in the future. 20 years from now, we don't know what's going to happen with that parcel. In our actual zoning ordinance, for a gasoline filling station, the minimum lot area is 20,000 square feet, and I believe you're way over that in your parcel. The minimum lot width is not a question. The building is located not less than 25 feet from any side or rear lot line. I think we're within that. I didn't see anything other than the requirement of a raised curb 6 inches in height along the street frontage at the right of way, except for drive openings. And there never ever has been a curb there all these years. I don't know if that's something we need to address or have them go before the ZBA to get a variance. I personally can't picture the need to have a curb across the front of there, because for so many years, people have just been driving in there and if you put a curb there, they're gonna be driving over top of it. You're gonna create more of a hazard. You know, everything else seems to be pretty well addressed. I did have a comment from, several residents on your driveway plan. Their thoughts, just moving forward as we look, and maybe this is premature to get into this, was to possibly put a driveway instead of looping all the way back around your pumps, to put a driveway to exit, more out onto south of where your driveway is now, a one laner to pull out onto Bray Road, say to go south. My concern when I looked at the area and standing out in the parking lot, is I noticed the high ground coming from the north and then the jog and the curve. And that was when I talked to some of the neighbors, was a concern that you're gonna have people rear-ending people because you've got somebody slow pulling away from the gas pumps. Which I'll go out on a limb and say, I don't think it's any slower than when they pull out of there now, but you know, if it increases traffic, maybe it increases the chances of more crashes. I don't know if that's something that down the road you can look at in your site plan. Consider a little single exit driveway there if it's permitted on the property without too much difficulty.
Talked about coming straight off where the tank is.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's actually not a bad idea.
yeah, I mean, that's
That's actually a pretty good idea.
you're not having to make that loop. You're actually
Yeah.
coming, once you got your fuel, if you're pointed south, then you just go right out south.
Yeah.
You don't have to loop back around.
Fuel tankers are way too better, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And probably some opportunity for expansion in the future if that would happen to 6 pumps or something like that.
We probably won't ever expand it,
Yeah.
but just for traffic flow there, that's actually a pretty good idea. Probably something we can explore with engineering with the county.
Yeah,
And then they can kind of give us a parameter of how they want it and the width of it and everything. And we can accommodate that.
yeah, that was just something that as I was talking to people, because I did ask them, you know, headlights, is headlights shining in your windows, you know, at night when cars are pulling out. And the ones I talked to said they're used to it. It goes on anyway, you know, and they don't, and you addressed the lighting already, which would be a concern of shining down as far as not shining into the neighbor's houses. I don't know, we're in a spot where we have to bring up spot zoning with the conditional rezoning. But I think, with all the factors there, are we looking at a spot zone, which the township really doesn't like to do? However, the side of the coin is say, okay, we are bringing up a parcel up to current, standards that should have been addressed a long time ago. You know.
It's almost the current use right now.
Exactly.
Yeah, so, you know, and that's the point of the master plan. We're trying to eliminate those sites like that and have them classified correctly. So, and from that aspect, there's no downside to that.
I wouldn't call this spot zoning. Yeah.
No.
So even if they didn't put in pumps, we're still just clarifying and putting it right back to where it should be.
Yes, we talked about this, remember, a year ago.
It should be like.
So,
Yeah.
let me ask you something, Kevin, just I have a question here regarding it. So if we had a motion to rezone, they're gonna bring this back, so we could put any conditions that we're concerned with that, or do they have to be part of the motion for rezoning? That is my question.
We can mutually put conditions in as part of the rezoning, under conditional rezoning. They can offer to do things, which they have, and we can ask for things, conditions. And by the same token, we can also put a condition in there that if, a time limitation, if, this plan doesn't move forward within a year, 18 months, that the zoning change reverts back to what was there.
Do we have to do that now, though, as part of it, or is that something that comes back to us and then we do it?
We don't really want to change it back up like commercial. Pretty much are right.
We're just doing rezoning today. We're not
I think we're just doing the rezoning because once we get it rezoned, then
Yeah.
we still have to see some building plans and.
Yeah, I just have some
All part of the
concerns,
complex
you know, that
process.
some of the things we talked about, like the fencing, and then my question is, do they need to be in the notes now that we're gonna address them, or are there gonna be an opportunity for us to come back later? Because I have a few things here that, you know, I'd like to see happen, and I don't know if they should be part of this motion or not.
I think the motion that initially needs to be made is just the rezoning portion.
Okay.
Then that allows them to know that they've got, or when our board approves it at the May meeting, that they've got the authorization to go ahead with their more.
Okay, so then when you bring back your site plan, we would have time to have any concerns with that. Okay.
If you wanted to get those notes, to Mr. Lawrence, after this, we would accommodate that, and when we did come back after we saw the trustees, we can include that in the plan so that you can see it.
It's not some big things. I mean, I have a little concerns on your facelift. You know, I mean, I'm concerned the front of that building needs to be facelifted.
It does.
It's looked like that for a very long time, so I wouldn't be so happy with the inexpensive version, the good facelift. And another thing, in this township, most commercial buildings are required Knox box. And because you don't run the business, you're just running the tanks. I'd like assurances that we would have a Knox box for the fire department. But that would be something you guys would have to deal with him because it wouldn't be our place to.
That's not a clue to do that.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, today we're just rezoning the property. We're not approving a gas
Right.
station.
yeah, I,
Yes.
Right. I wanted to have us air any concerns now too, so that they're aware of what we're looking for.
yeah,
As we move forward.
and that's fine. I just.
Otherwise, we have to try to contact them away from a meeting point and discuss it. So this is, and our residents are here to voice opinions and get everybody together, all the facts out.
Okay, so that's only required today if either we are or we're not.
Correct.
I mean,
Kevin, before we get to that point, yes, I asked a few questions. I have questions and comments about this as we go through this, both for the company and the residents. First, I want to address the residents, Charles, and I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. What is it? Brian, I'm Gary Tilson. You both made a comment that we don't live there and we don't give a hoot. I assure you that we do. This township is 24,000 acres and every month somebody comes. It's the nature of human beings to not come to the meeting until something's right in their face when it's in their backyard. And we've been dealing for the last 3 years with potentially 1,700 acres of solar, which will be surrounding me and my family and friends. And that's important to me. That's important to a lot of us. We get people in here that we're going to put a cell tower across the street, and they didn't move out in the country to live across the street from a 105-foot cell tower. We have the marijuana district up here, or grow and all that. We get a lot from that. So we are sensitive to that. And that's very real. We all move out of the country and we'd like to just lock it in time and not change anything. We like the rolling hills. We want to see the deer and we want to see the eagles and enjoy life and go for bike rides and all that. And it does feel like the world is encroaching on our quality of life, and it is a concern for all of us. Having said that, so that's just to let you guys know, it's not that we don't care. There's a lot of factors involved. So now for the company, I do have some questions. The financial backing is Yatuma.
Yes, it is.
And your company is
Umlar Group is my company, so we're the civil engineers and surveyors. So we prepare the plans.
I'm just curious. I'm familiar with that. Actually, the Donovans owned it back in the 50s and ran a little auto repair shop there. And quite frankly, with modern environmental studies, I was there playing as a kid when it started growing into a store, and just kind of like organically grew, because while they're fixing car in there and doing oil change, you know, the kids wanted something, so she got a little popsicle thing and then sold it to the neighbors, and it just kind of organically grew. It's kind of an interesting story. And they added chips and then beer, and it all kind of grew, and nobody knows how it happened, but it's just kind of interesting. But I will tell you, with my understanding of modern environmental requirements, Al Donovan probably poured a whole lot more oil in the back of that place than those tanks could ever, and any damage. I'm just out, I mean, in the fifties and sixties, it's a long time ago, but that's what people did. And that's the way it is. And I know there's a lot more controls at this point. Now if there was no building there, I'm looking at it, Bray Road, I liked it. I did a little study before this, and there's not a gas station within 36 square miles. Based on my very rough study, and I know we got, Beacon and Bridge, and we got a couple and I know, and I'm not saying there's a huge demand there, but I think there is a demand there. Bray's a pretty busy road. I don't think putting 3 gas pumps, just to kind of put it in perspective, this is just me, just one human being in the township. Putting 3 gas pumps there is going to change the traffic on Bray Road. It'll change who drives by your house versus who stops in there and then gets back on the road. I don't think traffic, there's 5,000 cars a day that go down that road, most likely something like that. I don't think it's going to change to 10,000. I guess it's going to give those 5,000 people and the people in the area an opportunity to stop for fuel instead of having to go over the Beacon Bridge and something else. That's just, my perspective. Now, the idea about them speeding out and all that, that's an annoyance. That's a different situation, whether they fix their mufflers or not, or the speed that they come out of there. But I don't think that 3 gas pumps, the business itself, I grew up in the north end of Flint. I think that thing looks like the building. I think it's deteriorated to the point that I'd be happy for anybody to make an investment. I wouldn't want my kids to go in there. It looks like an inner city place where hoodlums hang out at night. And I'm just being honest.
That's the other problem.
Yeah. I mean,
I
honestly,
don't want no hoodlums in the neighborhood,
No, I know, but I'd rather live across the street from that than that. Okay, I mean, just putting it in perspective.
And I may have taken a little offense because I go to that store all the time.
They just hadn't made an investment, and if a company's, willing to make, because, well, that's a different part, but the company's willing to make a huge investment. I think it's good for the business owners. I think it's good for the community. It's more reflective, better on the community, and looks a little bit more upstanding. Now, having said that, from a business perspective, I gotta ask, because you don't have to tell me, and they probably haven't done the business case yet, but understanding these projects, the excavation, the licensing, the fees, this is a multi-million-dollar project. This isn't small money. And you have to do, just like if, they said they want to put a McDonald's there, hypothetically. McDonald's would have a whole team out here for months doing studies and traffic and looking at market analysis. I got to believe that Yatuma didn't just get a phone call from these guys and say, hey, can you put some 3 pumps in? They said, yeah, why not? And they must think that there's enough demand there to justify the investment. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, they do demographic studies. So basically, a lot of times you have party stores in locations that are underserved and they have potential and they have, enough land in order to get the canopies in there. So how they actually hook up is that the Yatuma Oil Company has a complete sales staff. So they go out and they kind of bird dog locations and then they will contact owners. And if the owners are interested, then they start talking. And if the owner says, yeah, I would be interested in doing this, because what it does is, it not only makes Yatuma Oil money, but the owner of the party store, their revenue goes up immensely, right? And that's kind of the whole idea, is to share in that revenue stream. Now, on the investment side of it and the money, those demographic studies come back if the two can agree to, okay, yes, we want to move forward, and they go by the demographic study. If it doesn't work, they're not going to put the money in. So we've had multiple locations that we've invested in, the demographic study does not work, and we pass on. So it's just kind of, it's a lot like a McDonald's model, in which they need to know that they can absorb some of that market share in order for it to work.
Yeah, so it's good for the business owner. I mean, they do okay there, they don't do great. And I think this would help them, which would be a benefit. It'd be a benefit for the community. I do have sensitivity to living across the street from it. And there's gonna be better lighting and more lighting, but Charles doesn't want that coming through his picture window at 2 o'clock in the morning either. So there's things there with businesses shut down, everything's shut down. It's dark. And, those kind of things, but we'll get into those details. Having said that, because this has been grandfathered for 60, 70 years going on, and from the local residents who live right there in the area, it's 3 pumps. Understand, Charles and Brian, that, if they want an opportunity to survive and grow, they could also be coming to us with other alternatives. Businesses that could be there, that might be less desirable, just being honest. There's other things that they got quite a bit of property, they got quite a bit of land, and there's probably other franchises or other things that they could do that you probably would want a lot less than the 3 gas pumps. Just kind of put it in perspective a little bit. And that's not going to soften the impact at all. But I think if the demographic study says, I know I use Bray Road a lot, I go to Frankenmuth quite a bit. I did pick up a friend near Bray and Willard. Yes, I wish this was already there at that point in time. You wouldn't have to go get him at 1 o'clock. Anyway, that's a different story. But anyway, I appreciate the thoroughness of this study, and I do appreciate the residents making, the comments. It's something that we're all faced with, and the world's changing, and sometimes it feels like it's changing a little bit too fast around us, and it's uncomfortable. But having said that, and knowing that because it's been grandfathered, there's a lot of things they could do with that land that would probably be a lot more offensive or uncomfortable than what they're proposing. And this investment is really going to dress up the property quite a bit and provide a service for the community. So those are my comments. Thanks for your feedback.
Jason, any comments?
I think it's a great, I think I like it. I like the idea. I live right down the road. I go to that store all the time. I think what we're doing is change it to light commercial anyway. And whether they go ahead with gas pumps or not, I think light commercial is the appropriate zoning for that particular property. That's pretty much all I have. I think it's the right zoning. We're here for zoning tonight anyway. So I think it's the right zoning for the property anyway.
Okay. Yeah, it's the zoning would be compatible with if you're familiar with Wayne Whitmer's old store at Lake and Lewis. He was zoned local commercial for years, but he actually had the zoning classification. He wasn't grandfathered in.
I actually remember not too long ago, there used to be gas pumps at Lake Road Market. So I've got gas there before.
Yeah,
but they took them out.
Yeah, Wayne used to have gas pumps
Late
there.
90s, early 2000s, then came out.
So, okay, any other comments?
I was sitting here scrolling, I apologize, I didn't bring my master plan book, but I do recall something in our 1994 written on a typewriter, master plan. And even back then, it was calling, I couldn't find it here, sitting here scrolling, but it did actually ask for, there was a need for more gas. There's only one gas station in Thetford Township, Beacon and Ventures. The other ones are another, So we're not talking about a gas station, but yeah, that property is definitely, we're not talking about giving them permission for a gas station. I mean, we're talking about giving them permission to change the zoning. In my opinion, it's correcting it. Kind of like we did with Lacuer. It wasn't spot zoning. It wasn't, we're just fixing it. So.
Okay, I want to put together a motion for rezoning. I can put it, let me try it this way, that I'll make a motion that we rezone, and let me pull my address out here. That we rezone 14483 North Bray Road, Clio, Michigan 48420. Rezone from residential rural estate, which is RE, to local commercial district, which is called C. And if we put the restriction in there that any improvements to the premises would be completed within, shall we say, 24 months. That would be reasonable?
I would say 24 months from site plan approval, if we get the site plan approved. Just because Genesee County
Yeah.
is a little backed up and they tend to take their time with things, as well as Eagle and the state. So it's not an overnight process. So if you could give us that latitude of the 24 months, that'd be great.
24 months from the site plan approval.
Yeah, from the
Which we don't have yet.
site plan approval, whenever that occurs.
You got it?
Yep.
Thank you.
And that way, the township is protected to a certain point. You guys are protected. Township is protected to a certain point, that that's not gonna be hanging out there forever. For somebody else to come along and redevelop into something else that we haven't discussed yet. Tammy, can you run that by me now that we've muddled it apart?
I sure can. Motion to rezone 14483 Bray Road, Clio, Michigan, from residential RE to local commercial LC. Restriction to the premises to complete in 24 months from the site plan approval.
Okay, can I have support for that motion, please?
Yeah, I'll support it.
Any other discussion on the motion? Is everybody happy with 24 months from the actual site plan approval, which would be our board of trustees giving them the actual approval to proceed?
Site plan.
Because it'd be this, yeah, it would be the site plan and special land use that they would have to come back for to get, so that gives them the okay for them to go ahead and look at it. Okay, if there's no other discussion on the motion, let's have a roll call, Tammy, please.
John Cogden,
Yes.
Jason Tarno,
Yes.
Jason McConnell,
Yes.
Gary Tilson,
Yes.
Kevin Lawrence.
I'm a yes as well. Okay, so we will forward this recommendation on to our board of trustees. I know they will have to have the attorney draft an ordinance to make the ordinance change for that parcel. It shouldn't, it's not gonna affect property taxes as per se. Like I say, it's already classified as a commercial. But it will help update our master plan book and our map and greatly affect that for us too, moving forward into the next 10 or 20 years. Okay, with that being said, we'll open up public comments, 3 minutes per person on anything that we've talked about or you guys want to talk about. Everybody's.
I just got one more thing I want to ask.
Certainly, sir.
Okay,
That's what we're here for. We like comments from people.
I'm pretty dumb, you know. So in the event something with this construction and everything screws up our wells or the aquifer or anything like that, what is our recourse to get that fixed? Is it on us?
Well, the recourse would be, it's gonna be up to the company, but they have not got to the point where we've actually approved them to put in gas pumps yet. We're just rezoning so that they can move forward with a plan to put it in. At the time that we get to a site plan review, we can request what are my words I'm looking for?
Request an environmental study.
You know,
We're gonna do all that.
I mean, Eagle's gonna do all that.
yeah, we can request the paperwork, but we could also request a
We can get a copy of their liability policy. So,
Yeah.
but we would have it, which would be no reason that you couldn't see it.
Okay.
yeah, it's a certain that they have a liability policy to cover that, or they're willing to, put up some kind of bond to cover down the road, you know, anything that happens, or actually who is responsible, you know, we could roll that into the site plan and say, okay, this company so-and-so is signing off as the people responsible for any cleanup. Like I say, I did talk to, their engineer and made sure he was in touch with the county and the state for any runoffs and stuff like that in the proximity of, we threw up the idea of water wells in the area, in the creek. And I will tell you that, you know, it's probably them digging a hole there is probably no worse than, the neighborhood that I'm in when they put in a 10-acre irrigation pond in the middle of a farm field and took out a lot of people's wells because they put in 4 6-inch wells to fill the pond. And we had the well driller got real busy out in our neighborhood because a lot of people had shallow wells.
And that's the problem. See, I'm only down like 80 foot, you know, and,
They're not digging that deep.
No, the tanks are like 12 feet deep.
You know, and they're not drawing water out of the ground either. I mean, where I was at, you know, they're filling a 10-acre pond with these pumps running 24/7. You know,
all I know is, you know, I don't need any more problems through my rest of the way through my life, you know. I'm on the way out. And I don't need, you know.
We don't want you to have any problems.
I'm on the way out, you know, so.
no, and you know, we try to answer any problems and we try to look out for everybody. I mean, that's part of our purpose too, is to accommodate the business that wants to come in. It's going to make life better for some people, and some people it may hinder us. I did put the posts out on Facebook pages, and I will tell you that I had an overwhelming majority of people that were just, you know, excited to have a gas station be out there. And some of them, I'll be granted, some of them live in Tuscola County.
Across the street.
You know, they don't live across the street.
No, I realize that, you know, and some of them don't even live in Genesee County. You know, but they utilize that area, you know, so, I mean, I try to look at that too, and say, okay, is it gonna improve, our residents? Yeah, somewhat, you know, is it gonna help other people? Yeah, but I don't really have to answer to those people. And, one thing too with the traffic is, I've already, discussed with, some people from the county planning commission to maybe have the road commission look that as traffic, if this does go forward and traffic does increase, the possibility of putting a 4-way stop at that corner, to slow down traffic. And, you know, no, I look at a roundabout, but I look at, the intersection of Irish and Willard Road. And there's a 4-way stop there in the middle of no place. And, but like I say, when I was talking to some of the homeowners, and their concern was the jog in the road, and people are used to going from 57 to Birch Run Road, just, you know, put the hammer down and go. That's what they do. You know, and the speed of the traffic, and that's a concern, and it'll be a concern for these guys if they got customers getting crashed coming out of there.
Well, that might be a good idea to put a 4-way stop.
You know, so I mean, that's something we can look at in the future.
They have a lot of deer cross right there by the creek, you know, and they get hit all the time, you know, so.
So I mean, we're looking at other things other than just a gas station going in, you know, for improvements to accommodate extra traffic. I appreciate your comments. Thanks, Charles.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, we get it. Any other comments? Okay, let's close up our public comments and get some board member comments.
Kevin, sorry, did you approve their site plan on that or just the rezoning?
Rezoning. Just a rezoning. They're gonna, now, when our board of trustees approves the rezone, they can move forward with a more detailed site plan. But at least this gave us the opportunity to kind of feel each other out and see where we're headed after rezoning. You know, I think I put in the agenda that we were considering the site plan, but it's all a package. It's gonna be all a package deal. We've kind of had by having our public hearing at this, we're not gonna be required to have a public hearing for a site plan necessarily because we can have one, but we've already had opinions so that we can move forward in discussions with them too. They know what our residents are looking for, concerned with. So if they come back with a site plan and they can address some things we're talking about today.
Yeah, they're gonna have to bring that site plan back for review, which is, I had some concerns, but we'll address them at that.
So if you want a fence and extra landscaping and stuff like that, you can address that and then we'll accommodate, you know.
No, I thought we were doing rezoning and site plan approval.
No.
I think I've got it that way in the agenda because that's how we put the public hearing out with
Yeah.
the entire thing. So I put it that way. The site plan portion is gonna be delayed, you know, pending the rezoning by the board.
It's gotta go to the board and then the board has to approve it. And then once that happens, we'll bring the site plan back and then they'll approve site plan at that time.
We're looking at June for it to come to the BOT for site plan.
We're not gonna be starting tomorrow.
My timeline, my timeline.
We're gonna need to have a gas pump. Gonna run out of gas.
Hey, Vito, what, let's just say that this is all, hypothetically, what's a normal project duration from groundbreaking? You got all the permits, you got everything, from groundbreaking to operational, what's a normal?
It'll take us about 6 months. It's basically availability of the canopy from Marathon. So
That's excavation, start to finish, everything.
correct, yeah.
That's pretty zippy.
And that's SIBO.
And
It could be faster, but it's basically all availability of two things really is the branding from Marathon on the canopy and the actual tanks itself. Because the tanks are like you order it and then they build it and then they got to get tested. So in order for them to be shipped, we have to look at that testing log and make sure that they approve the testing and then we get it.
And the store stays operational during the project?
That's correct. It'll shut down when we run the actual utilities from the pumps into the party store itself. But it'll stay open majority of the construction. It's really considering the location of the pumps, it's almost separate from the building itself.
I would think for as the business owner's perspective, when they start, if they were to do the facelift and the upgrade and all that, that could be a disruption to their business. It looks like it's not inviting or it looks like they'd want to get that portion is accelerated, done as quickly as possible.
So how that's gonna happen, it's actually the opposite. So the canopy, the parking lot, the curbs, everything on the exterior, the landscaping, all of that stuff, that's all gonna go in. And then we will stub up all of the conduit to the front of the building. And then as soon as we start the rehab on the front, we'll run the conduit in and then we'll rehab the front of it, probably put a new roof on it, paint it, and, you know, make it look really nice and reface it. And the reason why we're gonna do that, because that process will probably take us about, I don't know, a week and a half maybe, and his downtime will be a week and a half. If I start the process on the front and then bring it in after the fact, I'll be tearing up work that I've already completed. So, yeah.
You think after that's done, it's gonna help my status when I'm in there? I'm not gonna do anything.
You're gonna feel better about going in there and buying whatever you buy.
Yeah.
Even if it's a bad sense of work.
Yeah, okay. Just checking.
Okay. Well, let's wrap up some board comments then. Jason Tarnow, you want to start on your end?
Yeah, I'll start.
Thanks for coming out today. We appreciate
All everybody's comments and hardest part about this job is knowing that not everybody's gonna be happy. We got to achieve the city and have it up here where everybody's happy, but sooner or later stuff will happen there, so maybe. But thanks for coming out tonight. Appreciate everybody coming out and hand it over to Gary here.
Yeah, thanks for coming out, Brian and Charles. Appreciate your comments and yours as well. You know, I already said it's, you know, the change gets a bit uncomfortable for all of us, and this one you put in perspective. So I've already said all those comments. So thanks for coming out. Thanks for the very professional presentation and answering all the questions. Thank you.
Jason.
Yeah, same thing. Thanks for coming out. We appreciate opinions. It is tough to sometimes make a decision that we know might not make anybody happy, but hopefully it's good. And I apologize. Kevin actually asked me a question, real estate related. I sold a house across the street from that. I totally forgot about it. And I remember asking the guy, Dang Langworthy, maybe you guys know, I said, does that, does that gas station, does that bother you really? He's like, yeah, you get used to it. It's convenient. And I can run over there and grab a pop-up bike, but you get people taking off. He goes, if I had a stoplight there, I'd have a lot of people taking off, from a standstill. And I don't know if I'd like Harley's leaving the bar at 2 a.m. taking off there. It might be noisy. So, that was his take on that. I totally forgot about that. And a new guy bought that house in one day, and he loves it. I ran into him. So maybe you guys all know him. But, yeah, I forgot about that. So yeah, there is a personal experience about 2-3 years ago, maybe. Other than that, no, it's a great meeting.
John,
I encourage you to come to them other site plans, because during this process, if you address something that you notice, we'll have that opportunity to encourage them to do that. Fencing, whatever it may be, but for you guys, that would be meetings to attend, I would recommend as well. So when we get to the site plan, they're gonna bring back their plan, we're gonna look at it, tweak things that we think may need, and that'd be a good input for you if you notice something that we didn't see, so. That's all I got.
okay. Well, thank you, everybody. As always, we appreciate any comments, positive, negative, to try to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to learn and get information of what's coming and what's down the road. And part of what I look at is, like I touch on our master plan, our master plan was, I'll keep bringing it up, was last done in 1987. So we're trying to look at what the future of our township is headed. Comments were made about a cell tower. We have dead zones out here. A company wants to put a cell tower in. I got residents that just jumping up and down. They'd love to have, better cell service, internet service. We have a lot of things that people take as in other areas as conveniences, and we don't have. The feedback that I had on the Facebook pages regarding a gas station was just surprising. The amount of people that did say, I don't know where they live, but a lot of their comments were that they drive by there a lot. They traffic to Frankenmuth and back and forth, and I know that we have when I worked, Ray Road was a main highway from Millington Vassar area into Flint for the shops. Because it was a straight shot. And of course, they're gone, but there still seems to be a lot of traffic on Bray Road, whether the golf course is picking it up. So the potential for a business there is great. And anytime I can clean up our zoning ordinance and get something that's more compliant in the area, to me is a plus anyway. And I think that the length of time that party store has been there, adding some gas pumps, in my opinion, is not really going to affect the overall thing. And by you saying, we're going to work with the store hours, so we're not 24 hours a day bringing people in. I like that the fact too. It's I think it's going to help a lot of people in the area, and we'll try to mitigate any bad experiences that come up and come across. So. Okay. Anyway, with that being said, thank you, everybody.
We appreciate it. Thank
Make
you.
a motion, we adjourn. Okay.
Think about it.
Yeah.